We're live on it.
YouTuber. Perfect.
There we
And
go.
Instagram.
And the Instagram.
We're rolling.
Okay. I think you're in shot on Instagram, I hope. I can't see where I am. It's always so hard. Well,
I
welcome
can see
everybody.
Me. If you can see you, I can see me.
I can see you and me.
Perfect.
So, welcome to Tuesday Night Live.
Yes, the best night of the week.
We are super excited to join you tonight, as always, the lovely Kate Semmens. I'm Dean Nixon. We are joining you live from St. George, Utah at TurningLeaf Health and Wellness. We are super stoked to, as always, bring to you timely life coaching and personal development content that you can talk to your family about around the dinner table, around the
water cooler,
and all the other places that you...
I'm so trained now.
I know. It's really quite good. So we're stoked, and our intention is to, as we shared, go through some of the content and the things that we work with on a regular basis.
Yep.
A lot of what we center our conversations around have a lot to do with the individuals that we're working with throughout the week, whether it be individuals, couples, children, whoever. So it's just one of those timely things.
Before we jump into our topic, though, let's give a shout out to all of the brand new life coaches in training, all of our newly, we had our first weekend training this last Saturday, and as I was telling the participants, the students that have signed up to be part of this year-long value-based life coach training certification that we're doing, it felt like we were all on this big, beautiful ship that had just been created, right? And we cut the red ribbon, and in the old days, they would take a bottle and crack it across the hull of the ship, right? Yep. And away we were going. So celebration.
Yes. Yeah, it was really neat to be able to have, those individuals. We had a good group of individuals show up, and they are now on the 12-month journey.
Yeah.
And this time next year, they will be fully ready to rock and roll with the tools and skills that they need to have in order to step into the arena.
Yes, I love it. So congratulations to all of you and everybody watching. You're going to have some new coaching healers that are going to be ready to help you get through your stuff here in a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tonight as we jump into our topic, one of the things that we thought would be really important to talk about is the limitations and the self-perceived limitations that we have created and we placed upon ourselves, either through the maturation process as we've evolved as humans, growing up from children into early adulthood, even into adulthood, where traumas and experiences can impact us as well.
Absolutely.
And these assumptions that we make about who we are.
Who we are and what we can do,
right?
Right? So immediately, my mind automatically goes right into kind of an antagonistic view on it, because I think first, before we can dive into what it is that we're talking about, we probably ought to talk about what we're not talking about, right? Because what I would title this video is "The Sky's the Limits, Baby," right? There are no limitations. However, Dean, let's be honest, sometimes there are some limitations, right?
Right.
We talked a little while ago in a Tuesday Night Live, I believe, about manifestation and attracting things that you want and working towards being intentional about achieving the goals that you want, right? And you spoke about, was it, who's the wishes fulfilled guy?
Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer was in that interview,
Is it
right?
Natural?
Right? Is it natural?
Is it natural?
Exactly.
Right.
So there are some limitations that we have, right? I, in myself, probably can't really become an Olympic sprinter at this point in my life. I can work really hard at it, but it's not really even built that way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So aside from those things, the sky's the limits, baby.
Yeah, and I can see why that somehow enters into the conversation. I think that there's a reality that comes with evolving into who you want to become. But I also think that some of the assumptions and some of the limitations that we put on ourselves are just things that we have started to believe based upon people that have had similar experiences,
Mm-hmm,
or maybe their own fears and insecurities that were projected outward and we absorbed them, or
right.
maybe they were directed towards us. And so in a lot of ways, yeah, I think there's some similarities there where it's like, yes, I don't want to necessarily go, okay, well, I'm going to turn 35 tomorrow.
Right.
Like that's not natural.
It's not real.
It's not real. It's not what I want either.
Right.
However, I do think that there are things that we have created about beliefs and assumptions about who we think we are that limit our capacity or ability to become this higher self, or this self that we want to be. And so a lot of times I see it happen where parents, as they are working to be a parent that they want to be, or evolve into a parent that they want to evolve into, a lot of times they create belief systems about their inability to do it because of maybe financial. Maybe it's this idea of, well, in order to provide this certain aspect for my children, I should be here, for example. And, believing that if I'm not affluent, I can't take my kids, I can't travel with my kids.
Right.
Like I want to travel with my kids, but I can't because I don't have the money that the Joneses have, so to speak. Sorry, Joneses. I don't have the resources or whatever belief system.
Right.
So
Yes.
I'm talking about challenging those types of beliefs,
Yes.
and also challenging the beliefs about who we think we are as our capacity to be, a career that I may want to go after, or a loved one that I may want to draw into my life. And a lot of the beliefs, I see people that will have beliefs about what attraction is, and what they think is attractive, and what they've heard or believe that, well, nobody would be attracted to me because type of comments.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the next piece that kind of comes in for me in this conversation, as you hopefully, while we're having this discussion, you can start to get introspective and think about what are the different areas in your life where you may have some of these assumed limited beliefs that aren't really real. So in this scenario that Dean's talking about with a family that would like to do more traveling and more vacationing, but they don't like fit in the right class bracket, right? Like financial bracket in their mind. Well, maybe we get to start redefining what vacation looks like.
Sure.
Right? And also seeing where we get to prioritize. If what I want to do is take all my kids to Disneyland, which is a lot of money, right? Like it's a lot these days to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's my really long tangent way of saying, like, all those things are possible, but knowing where you get stuck, in what different areas where you've got your limiting assumptions of what's possible for you in those spaces is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And then that loops me right into all of like underdog stories, right? Like The Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know if you guys have seen that one with Will Smith, right? Like these stories of people that would seem to the rest of us to have a lot of limits, right? Like be in a position where they have a lot of limitations that have put on them, but that they could buy into, and that feels like society or whatever is putting on them, right? And it's so inspirational for all of us when they can rise out of that into what it is that they want to be experiencing and creating in their world, because we all identify with that, right? Like that's the reason that those stories, that we love them and they make us cry, and we just like, we get inspired by it, because even if it may not be that kind of a drastic kind of like, like Cinderella to the princess kind of movement, we all see those pieces in us where we feel like, oh, I could never do that, right?
Right.
I would want to, but that's not possible for me because of A, B, C, D, right?
Yeah.
And so just that came to my mind as to why we would be attracted to those stories, because we all have places in our world that we buy into that.
Yeah, and I think that is that piece where when we look at the limitations, is really understanding where's this resistance to it coming from. And I think that's an important part for us to look at is, and I know in my life, for example, when I run into my fears, when I want to evolve or I want to grow or I want to take things to the next level on in my personal life or in business life. And when I start to feel that anxiety or the tightness in my chest or the fear or the voices start to creep into me and that start saying, well, you can't do that or that, what will this or what will people think or what would that person say? All of those types of things really start to become those pieces I need to become aware of. Where is my resistance coming from? Why does that resistance inside of me exist? And a lot of that comes back to, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with my first thoughts is we have a lot of these beliefs and a lot of these assumptions that we have made from early in our childhood all the way through early adulthood into adulthood. And we've created a lot of these beliefs that don't necessarily apply to us or apply anymore to us. And so when I start to feel that resistance within myself, when I start to feel I always love it, you call it the pucker factor. When I start to feel that resistance, like, oh no, I can't do that, I can't allow myself to do that, then I have to ask myself, what's going on, where's that coming from? And then having the courage to really challenge it. Now, I do have to put the caveat in there that there are times in our lives that we want to create things. There's times in my life I've wanted to create things. I've wanted to evolve into something or become something because I wanted to prove something to someone, or because I wanted someone to recognize me or recognize that they were wrong about me.
Yeah.
And I've had those feelings, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I still have those feelings where I want that literal piece of that gratifying, see, I did it anyway,
kind of shove it in your face,
or whatever it may be. But when I can look at that piece and ask myself, is that my motivation? I can also recognize that that's not healthy, and that's not a good reason for me to say, well, I'm going to challenge that and move forward to that, because the reality is if I challenge that and I do move forward at it, and odds are I'm going to be successful with it, in the end, the result that I'm going to get isn't really mine anyway, because I've made it about something or someone else.
Absolutely.
But I'm talking about the other piece. I'm talking about that limitation, that glass ceiling that we put on. I think you were talking about that a few videos back. But we put that ceiling on top of us, and we're like, I can't break through this because what would people think, or that wouldn't be right, or it may make people uncomfortable, or I might be uncomfortable, whatever those pieces are. And we have this capacity to challenge that. And this is the part that I need you guys to listen to me with. And I need you to hear me. If it's in your heart, it's in your heart for a reason. So the reason before that I gave you, the unhealthy reason, set that one aside. I'm talking about inherently in your heart, when you feel driven or you feel compelled and you're like, man, I really feel this. Well, there's a reason that seed was planted. There's a reason that is inherently in you. Your universal power, creator, whatever energy you want to call it in the world or life, God, higher power, place that energy within you for a reason. So whether it's for you to literally challenge that and become it, or if it's to challenge your thinking of complacency to shock you into thinking greater than where you are. And that's what I really see with people is a lot of times we need to be shocked out of our complacency. And we need to be really moved and motivated. So when those seeds come and we think, yeah, I really want to aspire to that or do that, if it's not that first reason where it's like trying to prove something or, show somebody up, if it's that healthy, like, wow, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not where you wind up, and maybe that's not what you ultimately do, but if it shocks you into movement and moves you forward, then that's why it's there. So why not start moving and looking at the resistance and breaking down the resistance and see what comes.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like what you're describing, Dean, is the difference between, which is a little bit of a theme in my office this week already, just being Tuesday, right? Is the difference between being intentional and responding to those things versus that reactionary of like, oh, I'll show them, right? Like that's the totally different come from in those two places.
Right.
And I would just echo and amen to what you're saying as far as like, when those things are inside of us, right? Like when we were discussing this with the individuals we just talked about that are started this life coach certification program, that is a mouthful.
That is.
Right? Like a little bit of a discussion that we had was, hey, how did this call come in for you, right? Like what do you see, what do you observe in your life experience to where you started hearing the call that you wanted to come and learn how to be a coach and help people move their life forward, right?
Right.
And I think that we could take that statement, that principle, I guess, and apply it to these things. Anything that we really feel like deep inside of us, right? Or if you have something that keeps coming up and up in your life and it's like a repetitive thing, like, you know, like for me, right? Like I want to be a mother. I'd love to be a mother. I would love to have children one day. I want to be a mother, right? Like these kind of deep desires that you have inside of you, then they're there for a reason.
Right.
And if you didn't have the capacity for it, right? If you didn't have everything that you needed in order to be able to rise to that occasion and see that thing through or see what it evolves to, if it isn't exactly that, then it wouldn't be in your heart, right? Like it would be fleeting. It wouldn't keep coming back.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
Like, so pay attention to those places. And then I love the resistance factor, right? Because that is the perfect moment, those fear moments, to look and challenge what actually is or isn't true.
Right.
And that's the trick, I think, Dean. That's like the hardest part of this that we're challenging everyone to start to kind of look at in your life right now. Because sometimes lies sound like the truth so much because we've heard it time and time and time and time again, either via our own voice or whoever and whatever has been telling the lies that create that ceiling.
Right.
Does that make sense as well?
Oh yeah, very much so.
I feel like I'm stuttering, but if I'm making sense, then good.
No.
Right? But that's the tricky piece in this. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I can be inspired and have dreams and want to do things all day, but actually deciphering between what's real and true in my mind sometimes, that's the battleground.
And I think the reason why lies feel like truths so much is because both lies and truths are an emotional experience. And a lot of times the difference between the two is which one is rooted in which. And sometimes when those truths come and we feel inspired and there is some resistance, there's a little bit of anxiety because there's always that inherent fear of failure or that inherent fear of, well, even if I have people that will be like, I don't even want to say it because I don't want to jinx it.
Right.
I don't want to jinx it and I don't want to say it. And so there's this inherent fear that comes with desire. Now that's important for you to pay attention to because a lot of times our inherent desire that we have with something, there's a fear that we may not get what we want, right? So there's fear there. Now a lie is a lie and it's fear-based. So that's why they feel so confusing because they both contain an element of fear, if that makes sense. So it's hard for us to distinguish between the two. But what we want to be looking at is the difference between the lie and the truth. Is the lie is going to be that self-limiting victim mentality, fear-based thing that keeps you moving forward. It's going to be full of excuses. It's going to be full of limitations. It's going to be full of possible embarrassment or humility or humiliation, etc.
Martyrdom, right?
Martyrdom.
Like,
now, a truth that may contain some anxiety or a truth that may contain some small elements of like, well, what if I don't get what I want? There's always going to be this opportunity to go, well, does this provide me more choices? Does this provide me with more opportunities? And that's where you want to go. You always want to go, and that's, I always think about cattle. You know, you get a bunch of cattle and they're in the pasture, and they're always testing the fences. They're trying to find that weak spot that they can push through. You get one cow that finds one hole in the fence, and that whole herd's going to follow them through,
Yep.
except for that one cow that can't find their way out of nothing. But there's that reality.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. But there's that reality where that we want to look for the opportunity. We want to move towards the thing that brings us more choices, not keeps us more limited. So if it's a lie, it's going to provide more limitations.
Right.
If it's a truth, it's going to provide more opportunities. And that's where you want to really pay close attention to that, and to really start to navigate through that.
Yeah, I love that. And the one last thing that came to my mind while you were just speaking, like I feel like those truths that have the fear behind them they aren't always rooted in a fear of what if I can't do that. Sometimes the fear is what if I actually get that.
Oh, amen.
You know, because sometimes actualizing the things that we want is just as terrifying as not.
And I will, and if I could be transparent, wow, I'm going to pull a Kate for a minute.
Only about yourself. Just kidding.
But that's probably my biggest one. Is my struggles nowadays aren't so much about what if I fail. My big concerns now are what if I do succeed, and then there's more people depending upon me.
Right.
There's more more
expectations.
There's more need. There's more people need more access. And so that oftentimes limits me from really stepping forward and taking that next big step in my life. And that's a reality. So I think that's a really valid point.
Yeah. And I think the pieces to like just kind of merge all of these ideas together, right? Like, so if you're feeling like you want to experience something in your life, or you're feeling a call, and I love how we led with that kind of financial one in the beginning, right? Like even just something as simple, not easy, right? But simple as like, gosh, I'd really like to take my family on this vacation, right? Or something like that. All the way through all of the different parts of us that make us human and the different pieces in our world. Because this could be relational, it could be financial, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be all the things, right? In your career, everything like that. So, but if you've got that heart song, right? Like you've got that call that's coming in, figuring out where the limitations are, what the false beliefs look like, and if they're coming from a place of fear in a way that is limiting, or fear that's actually going to, if once we push through it, give us more options. And then at that point, facing the fear in failure or success.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the game.
That's the game. Well, I don't know where we are. I can't even see the time, but
we're close.
We're close. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you the secret.
Oh, there's already a movie called that.
I know. But for those of you that stuck with us till the end, I'm about to tell you the secret. I'm about to tell you the secret to success in really achieving what you want. And this comes from years of learning myself and becoming successful, but also working with all the successful people that I do in their lives. I will tell you what the secret is in making all of it come true. And this is what the secret is. The secret is those that are very successful at creating the life that they want, they decide what they want, and they don't worry about what it takes to get it. And that's been the biggest key to my success in my life, has been I stopped trying to figure out all the steps to making it happen. I just decide it's going to happen, and all the steps take care of themselves. And every successful person in business, especially that I work with, and I work with a lot of successful people in business, they don't worry about the details. They see the vision, they know what they want, and then they allow everything else to create it, because they paint a big enough picture for themselves, a clear enough vision of what it is that they want. They paint that vision not only to themselves, but everyone around them, so that them and everyone around them starts to see that vision, and everybody becomes clear on what the vision is. And then the vision itself becomes a reality. And it's the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's the coolest thing I ever watch happen in my life with these people. And I will tell you, it is the secret. And if you want more help on that, let us know. Because I will tell you, everything that is in this facility, everything that's here, everything that's a part of what we've become, started there. So there
Sky's
you go.
the limits.
I'm glad you stuck around till the end.
Yeah, I love it. So with that, we will wish you a most wonderful week. Hopefully everything goes awesome for you and you begin to unlock your heart's call and start moving towards your desires with the new secret that Dean just told us
It's
all.
not a new one.
Well, I mean, you know, the movie The Secret.
The secret. Yeah.
And don't forget to like and share this. We are once again so close to having the 100 subscribers that we would really love to have on YouTube. So go find us on YouTube and subscribe to the channel.
And thank you for those of you that just joined. We had 5 new subscribers. Thank you, Faith, and your crew.
You guys did it. I love it. I love it. And we will see you next Tuesday Night Live. Mwah. Bye.